What's up everyone, and welcome to another YuGiOh Duel Links video. So today I'll be doing my own Relinquished kind of deck profile to show for you all to see. So as you know, the new Relinquished or 1000 Eye Restrict structure deck for Pegasus just released yesterday. And let's just say that some of the cards there are good and the rest of them are pretty much just buffer cards, aka cards that you won't actually be able to use or you won't actually be using in any of your decks. So here's our main boss monster. I'm using 2 copies of Relinquished, 1 copy of the random Mad Flame Kaiju, 2 Charging Guy the Fierce Knight, 3 copies of Manju of 10,000 Hands. This is a good card as a searcher for your Relinquished monsters or in any case any ritual decks overall. So if you're playing any ritual decks, it's better to have this card as a searcher, or if you're playing Necros and their own effects, then you can have this card about 1 or 2 copies just in case you do not draw into anything that you want to go forward. I'm also playing 2 copies of Jin Presider Rituals, so this card can also be banished from the graveyard when I'm paying the cost for a ritual summon. And essentially when the ritual monster uses this monster as its material, I get to draw an extra card whenever it destroys a monster by battle. So that's a pretty nice draw engine overall. I'm playing 2 copies of Dark Magician because quite honestly, this entire deck, other than Relinquish as a supporting archetype, the main archetype is definitely gonna be Dark Magician and its fusion monsters overall. I'm playing 2 copies of Pod Duality because this card allows me to get an extra 1 card from the top 3 cards of my deck, with the restriction that I can special summon during the turn. So normally if that were to happen, I would actually have either a Charging Gaia the Fierce Knight, or even Manchu, or even my Jin on the field with a decent amount of attack points overall. So even if I were to take damage in the following turn, that means I pretty much have the cards I needed to set up the board. And aside from that, I'm playing 1 copy of Super Polymerization. So if you are quite familiar with ranked duels and also PvP and also for anime, this kind of Paradox event kind of duels, if you go into a high level duel against Paradox, it'll definitely bring out the high dragon type monster or malefic dragon type monster if you want to say it like that. But if I were to have Charging Gaia the Fierce Knight on the field, boom, Super Polymerization and go into Gaia the Magical Knight of Dragons, or even my Sky Galloping Gaia the Dragon Champion. So there are 2 options for me to go into, and also 2 copies of Gaia. That's actually quite a good combo overall. And aside from Gaia itself, I can also go into Dark Cavalry if I already have Dark Magician on the field and my opponent has a Warrior type monster. That way I can also go into that. Another thing is that if I have already Relinquished on the field and I'm going up against an opponent's deck who uses a lot of combos, especially in terms of monster effects, Millennium Eye Restrict, Super Poly, Direct, opponent effect activates their effect, chain, equip that monster from the field or from the graveyard direct into this monster as an equipped spell, and definitely go forward and seeing how it progresses from there. And also 2 polys, 1 ancient rules, and also 2 black illusion ritual. So I was actually contemplating on playing 2 copies of ancient rules, but at the same time I don't want to go over the 20 card deck, 20 cards limit as per usual, because 21 is always a 20 cards deck is always a sweet number. But in certain cases, if you do not actually have any of the kaijus, then definitely get to play 2 copies of ancient rules just like that. But there's only the downside, that is that you can, if your opponent actually sets all their monsters face down, so if you will equip that face down instead, then essentially it won't gain any attack points overall. Also for this entire deck, I'm playing 1 copy of E-Bond Illusion Magician. So what are the chances if I do not draw into any of my Dark Magicians but I manage to get 2 copies of my Charging Gaia the Fierce Knight? I'll just use these 2 monsters as materials for the XC summon of E-Bond Illusion Magician, activate the effect of detaching a material to bring out my Dark Magician, and essentially going forward just like that and having a fun go at the duel. I may lose the potential of bring out my Gaia fusion monsters, but at least I have the chance of going into other combos overall in this entire deck. I have 3 extra slots overall, but I think I can fill it up with link monsters or whatever, it depends. So essentially, let's see what we can go for from there. And I'm using the skill Mind Scan as well because that gives me a bit of an edge to see what kind of cards my opponents are using, especially in their set or in their back row and on the field. So there's actually a new skill that you can obtain for Pegasus. It's called 1000 Eyes Illusion. You gotta summon Relinquish up to 5 times in a duel. So that way, once you get 1000 Eyes Illusion, Here are the effects, here are the skill details. So if you control Thousand Eyes Idol, you can use one of the effects, return the card from your hand to the deck, set a black illusion ritual or a polymerization to the field from the deck. You only one copy of the cards the same name can be set during the duel during this skill. Then you can add a Relinquish to your hand from your deck. Or you have the other option of returning a monster from your hand to the deck and play a Brickery box from the extra deck. This skill can be used if you begin the duel with a deck excluding the extra deck that contains no monsters other than at least 10 level 1 spellcaster type monsters or monsters who relinquish in their attacks. So this is kinda iffy if you want me to call it that. So imagine you have to play level 1 10 level 1 spellcaster type monsters and with relinquished monsters in their attacks. So this is actually a card to be used for the structure deck as well. But if you do not have any other Thousand Eyes Idol in the beginning, or if you didn't even buy the structure deck, then let's check out for ourselves on how many level 1 spellcaster monsters there are. So spellcaster, level 1, and filter. Let's click on the monster real quick. Okay, so we have Relinquish, we have Magistrate Imagination, Cypher Atranger, Stoic a Prophecy, Mystic Piper, Janex Power Planner, Sunny Pixie, Fortune Lady Pass, Spell Recycler, blah blah blah, and Copycat, TG Cyber Magician, Fortune Fairy Hikari, Blue Eyes, Master of Blinds of Blue. Yeah, essentially a lot of low attack monsters, but they are kind of like supporting cards for their individual roles as well. So comparing what you just saw in my own deck profile for this Relinquished deck, and comparing with Thousand Eye for this structured deck as well, the 3 cards here that are actually quite useful are these 3 cards, which are the Golden Eyes Idol, Relinquished Fusion, and also Millennium Ice Illusionist. These 3 cards allow you to equip your opponent's monster onto a Relinquish or Thousand Eyes or Ice Restrict monster that you control. So this not only allows you to have your Relinquish or Restrict monsters to have more than 1 equipped cards from your opponent's side of the field, of course, but at the same time you also gain the attack points as red for Golden Eyes Idol, since it specifically says gains attack and defense. Gains attack equal to the attack of the equipped monster, so that's a pretty nice effect to get off on. And aside from that, that's pretty much it for all of that. Anyways, so I think it's better if I show you a part where I actually duel against Paradox, where I actually use this deck as well. So stay tuned.
You know my ability. Do you realize the magnitude of the duel?
I know everything. I'll play this. I end my turn. It's your turn.
Draw. Let the fun begin. Let the fun begin. My monster's effect activates. From my hand, I activate I ritual summon a monster. Here's my monster that's quite the looker. Relinquished. Relinquished special ability active. I set a card. Time, take this. I attack you directly with my monster.
This must be a joke.
End my turn.
You'll enjoy this. I draw. I set a monster. I end my turn. It's your turn.
I time to battle. Take this. I attack. Here I go. I attack you directly. I end my turn.
You'll enjoy this. I draw. I end my turn. There's no need to hesitate.
From my
Attack
hand.
me.
I activate a spell. I'd like you to meet my monster. My monster's effect activates. Let's bet. Here I go. Here I go. My monster attacks take this. My monster attacks your life points directly.
You'll pay for that!
I end my turn.
I know everything that your cards can do. I draw. I'll set a card. From my hand, I activate a spell card. I end my
Time
turn.
to make my move.
There's
Draw.
no need to hesitate.
I'd like you to meet
Attack
my
me.
monster. From my hand, I activate a spell. Let's battle. Here I go. I attack you directly with my monster.
This must be a joke.
Here I go. My monster attacks your life point.
Duel monsters have a power that even I know.
I can tell that you have a great love for your